Hi, my name is Faith. I live in the United States of America, and it was a happy accident that I stumbled across this amazing book. Actually, before I stumbled across this book, I found a YouTube video of Joey, and probably one of my most in need moments. And I had just went through a very difficult loss in my family. My heart was broken, and I was facing, for the first time ever, really deep grief. And I woke up one morning and I had a new sensation I had never experienced before. Out of the blue, one night I went to bed and I felt normal, and the next morning I woke up and I was experiencing tinnitus. I didn't know at the time what it was. I just know that there was a loud buzzing in my ears, and my hearing was all of a sudden a little bit, it decreased, and I panicked. I was very afraid, and I didn't know what to do. And from that day forward, the week just continues. I continually declined. My hearing got less. I went into the doctor. Doctors thought that I had, they thought I was having a brain aneurysm, because it was accompanied with severe thunderclap headaches. And they sent me out for CAT scans. I was in the ER, a whole bunch of tests, and everything in my brain looked good. But what they did notice was my inner ear was swollen. So then they told me to go to an ear doctor and have my everything checked in my ears. And I did go, and I had my eardrums and everything checked out to see if they were healthy, and they were healthy. But there was a decrease as far as when they test your hearing. There's like a normal level, or where you should be at, I guess maybe at a certain age or something. I don't really know all of the science about it, but they said that there was some hearing loss, and they wanted to find out why. They started to put me on a regimen of medication. And as soon as I started taking the medication, I started to get very sick. They put me on a very large dose of medicine, and it didn't fix whatever they thought was going on with my ears, but it did make me very, very sick. And I ended up having to withdraw off the medicine, which also made me really sick. So onset of tinnitus mixed with grief and being very ill, and then having withdrawals was probably one of the hardest situations that I've ever been through. And in the middle of that, somewhere, I don't know the exact timeline, I was in the midst of going to the doctors and them trying to find out what was wrong or why it had happened, I started to do some research on my own. And I found Joey's video on YouTube about, I can't remember which video it was, but she was talking about tinnitus and vertigo. And I remember the video being about different at-home practices that you can do. And as soon as she started to talk about her experiences with tinnitus, and I connected with it immediately. So I did more research, and I found every other video that she was doing and anything I could find on her. And I just immediately began to do her at-home practices. She had some online links that you could click, and they would email you some listening, I don't even know what it's called, things that you could do at home, just the at-home practices that she had available to you. It was like a quick kit, a starter kit or something like that. And then in one of her emails, she announced that she was writing a book, this book, Rock Steady. And it wasn't released yet, but she did have a way that you could pre-order it. And I was so excited because everything that I already had read or received, or anything that I had seen that she had put her hand on, was just so impactful to me. And I ordered it right away. And then when it came in, I immediately started to read it. And just, I'm not even kidding, just reading the first pages, the first set of words, it all resonated so deeply with me, and everything, every part of it, uh, was just it was just so powerful. And she began in the first part when she started to talk about the unwanted sensations that you experience. When tinnitus came to me, and it was all of a sudden for me, it wasn't gradual or anything like that, or at least I couldn't perceive that it was a gradual transition for me. To me, I perceived that it was just suddenly there when it wasn't before. And it was disorienting for me. I had never experienced, or at least I wasn't aware that I experienced tinnitus before. I wasn't aware of it. Vertigo or any kind of dizziness, it wasn't something that I was ever really aware of until I was aware of it. And for me, it was frightening. It was very scary because I thought that there was something wrong with me, and especially going to the doctors, and they were talking about brain aneurysms, and they were, putting me on all this heavy medication, and they're saying, you have tinnitus. We don't know why. There is no cure. There's nothing we can do for you. And being left in, I come from a family of musicians. My ears are very important to me. I mean, they're important to everybody, but especially with music being such a huge part of my life and what we do with it as a family. It was terrifying to think that there could be something wrong with my ears. Not that you need to be a musician to be worried about your ears, but in my case, it was devastating. And so anyway, when she started to talk about the unwanted sensations, and basically in the first part of the book, just describing, and especially what she feels and how it felt to her. I'm sorry, I'm just like trying to recap and reread. Just in the very first few pages, she expresses, if you're experiencing vertigo or tinnitus, I want you to know that it isn't your fault. You don't deserve it. You're not going crazy. And just reading those words, especially when you're talking with people who can't relate, and they don't know what's going on. And God bless my husband, trying to explain to him what was happening. If you don't know, if you haven't experienced it, you have a hard time connecting with it or offering support. And so there was nobody that I could go to for help. The doctors couldn't help me. My family couldn't help me. But Joey could. And the way that she was able to articulate such specific feelings and such specific just ways about life and about this particular thing, it's unlike anything that I've ever read before. And I'm a reader. I like to read. So anyway, it isn't your fault. You don't deserve it. You're not going crazy. And just being able to read that, I found so much comfort in it. And I didn't have to read it from her book. I saw it on her videos, I already knew what I was hoping, but I had a feeling of what I was getting into after seeing her videos. But anyway, one of the wonderful things I really appreciated about this book was at the beginning of each chapter, she uses real life testimonials of people who have gone through her program, gone through the Rock City program. Here from Pedro, it says, I used to be anxious about sensations in my body. Now I welcome them and tune in, knowing how to tend to my emotions when I need it gives me the confidence to go about my business more happily, mindful than I used to. Being able to read these testimonies and connect with real people who have gone through the program, who have, lived in their own skin and in their own lives and overcome this, is such a healing to me. Because I remember thinking, it's just immediately, when I would read this, I'm like, if they can do it, then I can do it. These are just everyday people. I mean, some tinnitus and vertigo, and it's not biased. It doesn't, it's not looking for a particular person. It is. it's anybody. So being able to read the testimonials was a huge, was just a huge healing thing for me. As she continues on in the book, she explains what tinnitus is and what vertigo is, and all of these different conditions, goes into more of the science of it. Another really great benefit of reading her book is that she's a professional in her field. There's credibility in that, but she's coming from it from two different perspectives that I really appreciated. It. She combined the scientific element, and then the emotional and the spiritual elements. And usually when you're dealing with people who are trying to help, like doctors or maybe spiritual leaders or something, they're coming at it only from one angle. But there was such a fullness and a wholeness to the way she was able to express just the whole dynamic of what is happening in your body and in your mind and in your spirit, and how to connect them all. And reading this book, I'm a person of faith, and I come from just a very heavy spiritual side to life. And after reading this book, and I started to look at life differently, more in a whole way. Our bodies, our spirits, our minds, we're all connected. And she goes over that, in her book, and in the most articulate and beautifully written way. Anyway, let's see, what else? The main, I can't say the main. There are very many things that I pulled away from this book, and that I learned. But I would say probably in the top tier of things that this book helped me to do, it helped me to respect my body and to trust my body, and to not be afraid of what my body is telling me. It, like, going back to the whole mind, body, spirit, and how they're all working together. It wants to be whole. And so much in life we just discount one or the other, and it shouldn't be that way. We should be looking at it as a whole. And she says it right off the bat, that this whole idea of rock steady, the whole idea of healing, it's holistic. It's got to be all of you. And and going through this book, it really helped me to capture and to understand how to allow my whole body to communicate, not just one part of it, not just the physical part, but the spiritual, the mental, all of it, let it work together. So probably right off the bat, that would be the number one thing for me that I took away from this, was first to learn how to trust my body, and number two, that you can heal, that your body wants to heal. It's for you. It wants to work with you. They want to work together. And if we can be mindful of it, we can help. We can help our bodies and our minds and our spirits work together. And that's definitely what I pulled away from this book. I wish that I could be better at saying so much more. There's so much about this book, so much so that I have already bought and given it away to other people who have, expressed that they started feeling dizzy. I have a friend who also said that she's been dealing with tinnitus, and she just woke up with it as well. She's been to doctors, she's been a psychiatrist. They've given her medicine, all kinds of anti-anxiety medication, all kinds of just medications. And I told her about this book. I said, it was 8 months ago. I said, I woke up, I was fine one day. The next morning I woke up, it was there, and I went through all this medicine. But as soon as I found Joey, I immediately got to work. It took me 6 months. To be able to experience the healing, and not having to be thinking about it every moment of every day, being aware of it, letting it or allowing it to, or I don't know, maybe that's not the word, but being able to go back into my life and to feel to feel like me, a new me, a different me, but still me. And so I bought it for her. And she said as soon as she started to read the first couple of pages, she was like, already she started to connect with it, because, reading about how, there were others that are just like you. There's hope, that's probably another of the top tier things. This book gives hope, a hope. It's hopeless when the doctors are telling you there's nothing we can do, or it's all in your head, or, and nobody wants to live in a hopeless situation. Hope is life. And after reading this book and knowing, number one, that you're not alone and that you're not crazy, and that there is a way through it. And I tell you, I am extremely thankful that it was just a happy accident that I just stumbled across Joey. I say it was an accident, but I'm a person of faith, so if I am a person of faith, then I have to believe that it was divine for me. But just changed my life. Changed my life. I've read a lot of books, and I've never reached out to an author before. So, thank you.